Well, we only have an hour left. And really, the 3 hours or 3.5 hours that we have had available is hardly enough time to penetrate deeply into the mysteries of life. For thousands of years, human beings have applied all and everything that they have to discovering these mysteries of life. Anyone who thinks that he can just suddenly get all the mysteries of life out of 3 hours inquiry, then clearly he is deluded. And I say that again because too often we think that truly we can, because of who we are, just from one meeting, from one book, or from one reference point, extract all and everything. I have endeavored so far to touch really not only the outer form, but to give you something of the way of using the outer form so that you may invoke the light that is contained within the form of the Kabbalistic teachings. I would like to ask you whether you want to participate now in an internal process rather than just only do a talk. So you will be following, it's known as a guided experience or a guided journey. Would you like to participate in one of these journeys? And then the remainder of the time we will endeavor to place the tarot cards, as it said in the advertisement, on the different paths. And I tell you it will be different than those that have been given in various books. Because the various books, I don't know where they get their information, but certainly they have deliberate blinds, as they call them. I mean, life is hard enough to understand as it is. And they just keep throwing deliberate blinds in there, in the books or in the scriptures or in the writings. I never quite understood that. I understand veiling the truth, just like when you want to give a present to your beloved one, you don't actually just say, here you are. You actually, wrap it up so that there is a joy in the unraveling. There is an expectation. There is an actual element of the emotion connecting with the whole experience. So it is with the veiling of the truth or the mystery in various symbols, allegories, parables, and concepts, and so on. But I cannot understand the deliberate misdirection of students. That I don't accept and I don't acknowledge. And so I tell you that lots of books do have such deliberate things, because people were given these teachings under strict oaths in various inner schools, as they are called, and because of those oaths they were unable to actually reveal the right kind of information, so they gave what they could. But I don't understand why, because most of this stuff has actually been given out by those who have broken their oaths, and still they gave blinds. So that is an excuse to say that they could not give the truth because of their oaths. I can understand one not breaking the oath. It's a very honorable and a very rightful statement. But I cannot understand someone who decided to break the oath still to actually give misleading information, which has been done by some such as Crowley and various others. Anyway, let us begin with our process of inner guided journey. Close your eyes. Bring your awareness to the brow of the forehead. Acknowledge now by saying that I now align myself with the internal. I now align myself with the infinite space. I now align myself with the infinite possibilities of life. Acknowledge your physical body, standing now comfortably in the place in space where you are. Adjust it if it's necessary so that it doesn't bother you throughout the process, so that it can be relaxed and left there in peace. It will be protected, it will be at ease, all will be well. You now see yourself stepping out of your physical body. You leave it in peace, all protected and rested. And you step out in that other vehicle that is known as the astral vehicle. It has the same shape and the same form, but only made up of finer, more luminous substance. See yourself now mentally dressing it with a brilliant white robe, symbol of purity. Place a crown above the head, symbol of making contact with the Most High. Place a cord or a belt of golden color around your waist, symbol that you will maintain control over the lower passions. Wear under your feet sandals and acknowledge them to symbolize the ability to travel. Under your feet now begins to form a floor of checkered color tiles. They are black and white, half of them black, half of them white. They form a greater square floor. You are standing in the center with your left foot on a black tile and your right on a white tile. This floor symbolizes the positive and negative aspects of the one life, of your psychic world, and that you declare by stepping on it that you acknowledge that it is necessary to handle the positive, to understand the positive, as well as know how to deal with the negative. See in front of you a triangular wall rising of the edge of the floor. You are facing east. So a triangular wall rises upwards from the east. Acknowledge now to your right the south and see another triangular wall arising from the edge of the square floor upwards. Visualize the same behind you to the west and the same to the north. These four triangles are connected at the top. Thus now you are sitting within the center of a great pyramid. You are standing on the tiled, checkered floor of a great pyramid. Let this pyramid symbolize the temple of Malkuth, the temple of the elements. In the very center, in front of you, there is a double cube draped with a white cotton cloth. On it is a crystal bowl or chalice, cup. Within it burns a flame. This flame is a symbol of the fire of life within you, the fire of life in all things. Let us take now a few comfortable deep breaths, and as we focus our attention upon the light that is generated by the flame within the cup, we breathe in this light and charge our astral body ready for this journey. Generate in you the feeling that now your consciousness is within a vehicle that's highly charged with vitality. This is your temple, and within the temple there are various symbols, there are various powers, the various holy spiritual powers, which some other time we will come in contact, we will invoke and commune with. But time does not allow in this journey to experience all of these. But let us prepare ourselves for the journey, and let us see in front of the Eastern world, as we look, 3 gates. These 3 gates are the avenues upon which we can travel to other spheres of consciousness or experience the pathways that link the spheres of consciousness. The middle gate is a little greater, higher than the other 2. Right above it is the all-seeing eye, with many rays emanating from it. There are 2 pillars, one on the right, silver, the other one on the left, gold. And between them, there is the gateway. You are also aware that there is a door to the right and to the left. For this journey, we shall go through the middle gate. You become aware of a presence within the temple. It's like a vibration of energy all around you. Slowly, this great light that has entered your temple begins to form a body that you can relate with. This body is constituted by light particles. Slowly you begin to distinguish in front of you a great, deep, penetrating, dark eyes, piercing through an olive color face, clothed with a robe of yellow, of olive, of citrine, and of russet red. His hair is black and long. His face is deep, well-defined features. His body is radiant. There is an all-embracing atmosphere around you. O Archangel Sandalphon, we now acknowledge thee. May thy presence within our temple guide us and protect us on this journey. May thy protective hand be with us in this journey. We acknowledge you as a core brother that holds the divine plan which we are to realize. May we learn to commune with thee and learn of thy inner mysteries and wisdom. We give a gentle bow, and it is acknowledged by the Archangel. He asked us to look into the flame once more on the altar. As we look into the flame, we register that he moves close to the central gate on the eastern wall, and he creates an invoking star of a flaming color. Within it, we perceive the tarot card of the moon. Suddenly, the gate opens, and this card and the star transform themselves into a three-dimensional world. We find ourselves walking down a corridor. In the distance, we see quite an arid world. A moon hangs in the sky, its silvery light gleaming and infusing the atmosphere. Around us, there is a pathway, and to the left, we become aware of a little mountain of olive trees. Remind us of the Mount of Olives. We walk a little further down, and near a pool where the moon is reflected, we come in contact with some women, and particularly one of them, an elderly looking woman, is in tears. We ask who might be, and why so much sorrow and wailing. We are informed that she is the goddess Dimitra. She is mourning the loss of her daughter Persephone, whom her brother Persephone's ankle, Pluto, has snapped her, and in his chariot, taking her to the underworld. We walk further down the pathway, and we now see why the whole scenery is arid, the wheat is burned up, and everything is dried up. Demeter, in her wailing, has abandoned her duty, just for the moment. There is a mystery in that, which we might consider in due course. We walk a little further down, and we become aware of a cave entrance. For a moment we feel concern as to whether we should walk down this cave or not. But we register the presence of the Archangel Sandalphon around us, and we know with that kind of all-enveloping and protective presence, nothing can harm us. We walk, enter the cave, and it is a cold sort of a place with stalagmites and stalactites around. There's various cold drops of water falling. It's a little dark, takes a little time for us to begin to sense and be able to travel. We meet a man who is known as Sharon. He tells us that we need to take two silver coins with us. One to pay the ferryman who will take us across, and another to pay him on our return, for we intend to return most definitely. He guides us further down, and we step upon some rocks, and we become aware that around there is water. We walk across these stones, and we have just crossed over out of the cave into another world where a river is in front of us. By the banks of the river, we see another man, a shadowy figure. He extends his hand, and we give him one of the coins. We step into the boat, and he rows us across this river. This river is symbolically the river Styx, or the Nile under the Nile, or the Jordan under the Jordan, or the Ganges under the Ganges. It's the symbolic river that we cross to enter the world of Pluto, the world of Persephone. We are now across onto the other side of the river. We step out of the boat, and we walk up a pathway towards a tower. We enter within this tower. We find ourselves in a temple, and suddenly a great creature of 3 heads, breathing flames, is in front of us. It shocks us for a moment, but we are aware that there is no threat, no fear. It is Kerberos. It is the dog, the three-headed dog, whose master is Pluto, the lord of the underworld. He appears escorted by his consort Persephone. She is crowned as a queen and veiled. They seem pleased that we have made this journey in consciousness. They take us and guide us towards the other side of the temple, where we are asked if we wish to really review and reflect in the mirror of this underworld the trace of the history of our lives to date. We acknowledge, we say yes, and we step through a doorway into a rather cool room. It's utterly empty. A wall in front of us begins to light up. Images form of experiences of the past, people we have met, feelings we have had, experiences of pleasure and of pain, all manifest upon the screen. But the strange feeling is that we are reliving. We sense within ourselves the pleasure and the pain. It is as if we come in contact once again with the energies that belong with these experiences. This is a good time to forgive those whom might have hurt you. This is a good time to forget the experiences that are no longer of value. See them dissolving into the substance. Free yourself from them. It's peaceful. You are aware that in this review you have a privilege. You have the ability to learn from the fruits of your actions, and the beauty is that you can return, make amends in the physical world, make changes. You do not have to wait until you go to this underworld at the end of your present incarnation. You can come to this place, review your film, the play that you have created, the various characters in your life. Learn from the lessons they have to teach, and move on into the next, bringing with you that which is of value to fulfill your purpose, dissolving that which you no longer need. Make, if you can, this declaration to yourself, that I now will, each day, at the end of the day, repeat this experience before I go to sleep in a miniature form by reviewing in the screen of my mind the events of the day, ordering them so that I may be at peace and release the light from the experience. We feel a tug within our head, and we know that it's time to return. We step out of that room into the temple, and there wait Persephone, and Pluto. She is now a youthful, most beautiful, radiant maiden. She comes to us and gives us a gift. What gift it might be is unique to each one of you. Accept the gift, give thanks, acknowledge this presence, and bow gently and take your leave towards the door. We are returning down the pathway from the tower. We turn around to wave goodbye, and there is Pluto, Persephone, and the dog happily by the feet of the Master, who know them to be powers of the one life, personified so that we may relate with them more intimately. We walk by the river, and the most beautiful experience begins to manifest. Out of the river comes a radiant being of beauty. She wears the crown of Isis. She is radiant with love and light. We step and walk towards her in the water. The water is no longer cold. As we move towards her, we find ourselves revitalized, re-energized, and recharged. She is the goddess of regeneration. She touches each one of us in our forehead, and we feel electric charge flowing through every atom and every cell of our being. All is well. We give thanks, and the boatman comes along. We step into the boat, and we travel across to the other side, making our return journey. Through this journey, we've become aware of various shadowy figures around us. A thought occurs to us that maybe these figures are those who have not realized and cannot make this journey to revitalize and regenerate themselves. Some of you may choose to come again and take more coins this time, so that you may pay the ferry boatman on behalf of some of these shadowy figures, brothers or sisters who in ignorance do not realize that death follows birth and birth follows death in the whole regenerative process of life. The coins symbolize the virtue and quality of charity. Acknowledge in yourself that quality as you step into the cave and you are guided, giving an acknowledgement to Sharon out of the cave into the world of a far more happier and radiant conditions. You find the wheats flowing, the poppies in the fields. The old woman no longer is crying, but rather is transformed as a beautiful, radiant, all-wise being. Persephone is youthfully playing round some flowers. There is a mystery in the whole process of this regenerative experience. We walk up the path, we enter the temple, and there Sandalphon waits with a smile. Every journey that we shall make, we will begin it with the experience of Sandalphon, and always Sandalphon will be there to welcome us back. He shares our inner aspirations, our discoveries, our glories, our victories, and our disappointments. He is what is known our guardian, angel, or our brotherly cooperator, for that is what the word Sandalphon means, Synadalphos, from Greek, which means a co-brother. We're in the temple, we give thanks for this experience, we look into the flame, the temple begins to fade away and heavier matter gathers around us. We find ourselves in our physical bodies, but now we have infused them with the energy, the vitality, and the experience we have gone through. Our awareness is at the brow of the forehead. We are at ease. We give thanks and we say, for thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. We are here in this place, in space, in peace. We may open our eyes and be here now. For those who have not had much experience in such journeys, it may have been a little difficult for you to concentrate with your consciousness in taking this journey. But the more you practice such journeys, the more easier it will be for your consciousness to be focused and to come in contact with these intelligences and energies of life. All of these names are only symbols of powers and aspects of the one life. And the more we familiarize ourselves with them, the more benefit we can extract from the experience of life. We went through the experience of traveling the path of what's known, the one that links, the 32nd path, that links Malkut and Yesod, the kingdom and foundation. This pathway here. And the tarot card that belongs with that is the moon card. Now in other systems you might find that they put the world there. And a beautiful radiant dancer. A dancer, or the world. This is some tarot cards of different types. There is one depiction of the dancer, not necessarily the classical one, but the classical depiction of a dancer may be a woman with a wreath around her head, with around the corners they may have the bull, snake, lion and eagle, the four beasts, symbols of the four cherubim or the four elements of the kingdom of the elements. But in reality, if we place this card in the world, the experience of that journey is the experience of going through sorrow, the experience of going through review, the experience of going through that regenerative process. This card is the card of attainment. Well, clearly, this journey is not a journey of attainment. It is a journey where you experience the aridness of some of your experiences, the negative aspects of the way that you might have expressed yourself with other colleagues, with friends, with family. It is a time where you need to forgive, to be forgiven, to let go, in the mirror of that reflection that you have gone through. It is the experience of death and rebirth, the process of regeneration, going into the underworld and coming back from the underworld. The systems that other people have used with the cards leave a lot to be desired, but the system that I would suggest to you, which is much more harmonious with the whole business of what those spheres represent. Here we said the moon sphere, the sun sphere, and up here, higher than the sun, is the stars. So why not place the moon here, the sun here, the star cards here? So we have the moon, the sun, and the stars. The moon card, the sun card, and the star card. It perfectly follows and belongs naturally in that order. The star card and the moon card. Here is the moon card of one depiction anyway, and the towers. There are 2 towers. We've only traveled in one of the towers today. Another time we'll explain the mystery of the other tower. And there is a dog there, and there is also another wolf on the other side. We have met the dog with its 3 heads. The dog with its 3 heads can also be seen as the threefold personality, the physical, emotional, and mental. And these are the 3 heads, the threefold beast that we have to tame so that it may serve us, rather than hinder us, rather than actually be an obstacle to us. It can become our servant. And so we have the moon card, the sun card, because that is the sphere of the sun, that is the sphere of the moon, and above obviously is the sphere of the stars, the higher, and the star card above that. So in that way, it is a natural order of placing these cards, because our last part was to relate the cards on the different paths. There are 22 cards of the major arcana. The tarot card really is just a book of symbols. We have said that all knowledge is really extracted out of the relationship of one's self-consciousness with the world within them and around them. Cards depict images, colors, symbols, and numbers. When they are interpreted, they reveal to us such mysteries. And so each one of the paths has the experience of partaking a certain part of one sphere and a certain part of another sphere. It is a blend of the emanations from the one sphere and the emanations of another sphere. So the taking of this journey, symbolically, it is the mastering of the energies of the 2 spheres, so that we can bring equilibrium and not an imbalance, so that we may understand fully. The moon affects our lives tremendously, does it not? It certainly affects the life of the planet. I mean, huge gallons of water are moved backwards and forwards. I mean, there's a tremendous power there. If we become aware and know how to use that power, then certainly it can be to our value. There is an ebb and flow of the moon. The ebb and flow manifests in the 4 phases of the moon: the empty moon, the new moon, and the full moon. If you begin a process of work at the time of the new moon, and you work to actually bring it to fruition to the full moon, you benefit of the natural ebb and flow of energies of the macrocosmic clock, and then begin also the downward, and at that time you have to be vigilant so that you are not taken downwards, but actually maintain the ground that you have won up to that point. So you can actually orientate your life so that you become in harmony with the macrocosmic principle of ebb and flow by yourself taking various tasks that you have to accomplish and ordering them so that you initiate them at the new moon period and complete them, aim to complete them, aim to bring a certain degree of completion that you can by the full moon period. And then in the next cycle, when there is the downward path, maintain that which you have attained up to that point. So clearly, each one of these experiences has lessons to teach us and has aspects of our own self, of the psychic and mental and spiritual worlds to reveal to us. Our spirituality, our spiritual self, our soul, let's put it that way, is in deep meditation. And these meditative emanations radiate from this plane. This you can call the plane of your soul, your spiritual soul. Down here is the plane of the personality. We said the personality, individuality, divinity, in personal terms. Personality, individuality, divinity. For those that were here in the beginning, we did 3 spheres. And we said the first one symbolized personality, individuality, the second one, and divinity. So, what we are talking about is very clearly harmonizing our personal life with the meditative emanations that unfold and come forth from our spiritual soul, endeavoring to orientate, integrate, and align our physical, emotional, and mental bodies, emotional body, mental body, physical body. And this is the moon, which is actually the sphere of the etheric plane. And our 3 bodies are synthesized and connected with etheric matter. And the etheric matter provides the vitality for the physical, emotional, and mental bodies. We have these 3 bodies, and these 3 bodies are actually interconnected by the etheric matter, or the etheric double, as it is known, of the physical, the etheric double of the psychic, and the etheric double of the mental. We are meant to align, to integrate those 3 vehicles, so that we may surrender them to the higher spiritual soul and begin to actually get a sense of what the spiritual purpose of our soul for this incarnation might happen to be. For we are blindly going around trying to fulfill some purpose for this incarnation. But surely, if we were to turn our consciousness towards the one, the inner self, who is absolutely aware of what was the consciousness and what was the purpose for this incarnation, then we may actually not waste so much time pursuing various tasks that may very well be profitable in some respect, but utterly nothing to do with the purpose of this present incarnation. So we have to learn what is the dharma of this present incarnation, as the Indians say, and what is the karma of this present incarnation, what is the duty, in other words, and what is the purpose, the things to attain and the things to unfold for this present incarnation. And these can begin to happen if we align ourselves to the macrocosmic clock of the new moon and the full moon, which is only a symbol of the ebb and flow that happens in the whole of creation, in life. And so by aligning ourselves to that process, simultaneously we are declaring in an experiential way the intention of aligning ourselves to the meditative ebb and flow of our inner spirituality, our own soul. So, we are going on with the cards. We have 3 bars. 1 bar, 2 bar, 3 bars. This can be called, if you like, crossroads, or balancing points, or veils which to cross. And when you take experiential paths up and down those journeys, you may feel certain things when you cross over those bars. Now, clearly they have to do with a certain kind of balancing element and a certain kind of barrier and weighing, and therefore we have 3 cards that most clearly can belong to those 3 steps. We have the Wheel of Fortune, as it is known, which we can place here. We have Justice, and we have Judgment or Resurrection, as it is also known. This is the Wheel of Fortune, or one depiction of it, that has to do with the possibility of change and one thing happening or another thing happening, the revolving wheel of life, trying to balance one experience against another experience. trying to balance emotions with thought, trying to balance the benevolent aspects with perhaps the more destructive aspects, and trying to really bring a synthesis of wisdom and understanding, which you cannot have. You cannot actually have right judgment without wisdom and understanding. So, I know that other people place different cards there in those sections. Well, here you are. And this is the resurrection of the judgment day, okay? So, judgment, justice, and the wheel of fortune. So you now have the moon, the sun, the stars, naturally flowing as this is the sphere of the sun, this is the sphere of the moon. And so, this path connects the physical, earthly plane with the etheric plane of the moon, and all that belongs with that. The sun card and the star card. Then we have judgment, then we have justice, and we have the wheel of fortune on those three barriers. I know it's all quite fast and we don't go deeply into each of the paths and each of the cards and what they symbolize, but clearly time is of the essence and we only have 5 minutes to cover the rest of the paths and give the rest of the cards to their names and so on. So, really, I hope that in some way I may have succeeded in rekindling your interest in the search for truth, for those of you that already have traveled much upon the path of searching. And I hope that perhaps I may have touched and awakened in those who might just be considering to begin something of value and of interest, so that you may seek to take this journey. But try, if you are beginning, to consider in yourself, as I said in the first part, whether you are more inclined emotionally, whether you are more inclined intellectually, whether you truly feel that you can take the more direct route, which is straight up the path of the arrow, as it is known. William Blake knew something when he was talking about bring me my bow, bring me my arrow, bring me my pot of gold or something, bring me my arrow of desire. He was talking about this middle pathway, and Kabbalists say that around this area there is a certain rainbow or a bow and an arrow going straight up. And the arrow symbolizes our aspirations, our hopes, our desires, our prayers which we send up to God, hoping that we may have them fulfilled. Yes? And so, clearly, try and ask yourself some of these questions that we said in the first and second part. Try and observe your character, your daily life, and see what might be those things that already come very easy for you. And those things know that they are to be placed in service to your family, to the community, to the world at large. For maybe there are those qualities that you already have attained. They have come with you with your birth. You don't have to work very hard. But there may be others which come very difficult for you, but you still have an interest in them. Maybe those are new areas of inquiry which you are only just beginning in this present incarnation. In that way you might get a reflection of what to place in service to the community and what to begin the process of actualization from potentiality for yourself. For all of us have started painting a picture, but we all have started painting from different ends. Imagine all of us being artists now, and we say, here is a blackboard, paint the picture of a human being. Some of you might start painting the feet, some of you might start painting the head, some of you might start painting the trunk, and then the teacher says, stop now. And then all you have is unfinished parts. And that's what we are like. We are all, in our character, got unfinished parts of our own temple. The building of what's known the robe of glory. The building of the robe of glory. The robe of glory is a symbolic term for the causal body, for the body that forms our permanent personality. Our present day personality goes with the time of death, the physical body returns to the elements, the astral body also eventually dissolves, and the mental body dissolves. The fruits of those are extracted and become qualities, inherent trends, traits in that permanent causal body, as it is known, or causal because it causes the effects that you may experience in your life, and you think, where did that come from suddenly? Some experience, some shocking experience in your life. The karma, as the Indians say, the law of cause and effect. All of these things are depicted in the tree of life. Each pathway does not only have the actual card that gives it a certain coloring, a certain flavor, and a certain teaching. It also has a certain letter. And the letters don't have to be the Jewish letters. It can be the English letters just as well. And we can place the letters, and each letter represents an emanation. And each letter, when you combine it and form a word, when the magicians of the old days said, I will put a spell on you, what they actually meant was that they are going to spell a certain word, put it together, and that word will be a word of power, and by using it, they will put a spell on you. Do you understand what I'm saying? To put a spell on something, is to actually project out of yourself with knowledge and with power using certain words that have combined with certain letters. What letters are to language, symbols are to intuition. And so we must study the letters and the language, which is more of a mental plane experience, and we must also study symbols, for they invoke our intuition. A right education is an education that combines the expression and the unfolding of our intellectual qualities, our emotional qualities, as well as our volitional qualities. And any education that falls short of combining all three can only be a palliative education, an education that will lead you to some kind of imbalance or other. And we do know of scientists which cannot relate with their children, and of artists that live up in the clouds and don't know how to take care of practicalities. They leave the practicalities of life to somebody else. We do know of people that are all will, no love, and they are very bullish in our old school days, or tyrannical at the level of Saddam Hussein or whatever. And these are also, we're talking about these three pathways. But we must learn to bring a blend and a balance. So we haven't had a chance to cover all the cards, but certainly I'm trying to give you a structure by which you can relate the symbolism of the card and see how it fits more effectively and more harmoniously with all the qualities that belong with the different spheres, instead of adopting just some system which happens to be in the book. Now, if you are already using a system and you're saying, well, I'm not willing to change my system, I will spend enormous amount of time learning one particular system, it works for me, I'm not willing to learn anything new, well, so be it. Stick with your system. But I'm trying to show you that a system is only as good as the ability to always refresh, renew, and reevaluate, and be able to add, detract, let go, or whatever. And if it doesn't allow you to do that, then it's a prison. And it may be a prison with gold bars, but it's nevertheless a prison. The golden handcuffs are nevertheless handcuffs. So if you hang yourself with golden handcuffs of one particular system and unwilling to look at another way that perhaps of relating the cards to the parts, well, so be it. I'm sorry that we haven't had the time to go over through all the cards and place them. But you can start, as an example, with the Hierophant, the Emperor, the Empress. Hierophant, Emperor, Empress. Here, the Priestess and the Magician. The World and the Fool, or the card of negation, as it's otherwise known, or the card of the man who is in the world but not of the world. Very often they misinterpret the Fool card. I'll show you a card of a tarot pack that I am creating with an artist that has painted them. They're only actually pictures, so they are not complete yet, and you might not be able to see. They're only very light pictures. There's an old wise man and there's a little baby on the other side. This, I give it as a symbol of the Fool, the negation card, because it has a quality of having learned and having become wise, But then you come as a babe once again in the new incarnation, in a new beginning. And you may do things that may appear foolish to others. But nevertheless, within you, there is also wisdom. So do not let anybody tell you that you always use stupid, foolish thing. Because within you, there is wisdom. There is wisdom of all the journey to date. None of you are here fresh born. If that were the case, how do we explain all the faculties, qualities, characteristics, and so on that we have, and they're all different, etc. So, this Tarot pack will, in due course, be in publication. But it's very, very uniquely different to any of the others that you may have seen. This is, as an example, the Sun card. The Resurrection, or the Judgment. The Wheel of Fortune. The Lovers, or number 6 card. The Justice card. They are not very easy to see, unfortunately. The camera was not very good. The Star card. Anyway, thank you for listening to me, and thank you for participating in all that we have done. I hope that in some way an interest has been rekindled for you to seek and inquire further. For those of you that have not completed any of these forms, if you want more information on these matters, then please complete any of the other forms that are left there and return them. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.